بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المعصومين صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Enlighten your hearts and majalis with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran that the Quran is surely a guidance for who? For the muttaqeen, for the pious ones. Then Allah says in the next verse, He says the muttaqeen are those that do three things. They believe in the ghaib. يؤمنون بالغيب. They believe in the unseen. Number two is they perform and they establish prayers. يقيمون الصلاة. And number three, they give from what we have provided them. ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam was asked about this ayah. He was asked about the translation of this ayah. What does this ayah mean? The Imam said, the muttaqeen in this ayah, hum shi'atu Ali ibn Abi Talib. And then the Imam says, those muttaqeen that are the Shia, they believe in the unseen. They asked the Imam, what is the unseen? What are we going to believe in? The Imam said the unseen is the ghaiba, the occultation of our 12th Imam, Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan al-Mahdi, Fidahu arwahul alameen. Now, we find in our narrations, the Imam and the Prophets, they speak very highly of the people that believe in the occultation, the people that believe in the ghaiba. Now, throughout this speech, we'll have a look at three main topics. These topics are: one, what is the meaning of occultation? What is the meaning of ghaiba? If someone was to ask you, what does it mean that your Imam is in occultation? What do you mean? He's disappeared? Where is he? That's number one. What is the meaning of occultation? Number two, is this occultation, is this something strange? Is it an innovation of the Shia? Did the Shia make this up because they want to cover up something? Is it an innovation? Number three is, how do we become considered an awaiter of the Imam? We'll begin with a lot salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, the meaning of occultation. There are many ideas that revolve around this, many misconceptions. They say, does it mean, the meaning of occultation, does it mean that the Imam is stranded somewhere on an island, no one knows anything about him? What does it mean? Does it mean that the Imam is stranded somewhere, trapped, and cannot leave that place? What is the meaning of occultation? The misconception that other schools of thoughts bring up about the Shia, they say that the Shia believe their Imam is in a basement, sitting down, cannot leave, he's trapped there. All he does is he eats, he prays, and he is waiting. He's waiting for what? He's waiting for the basement to be open. That's what they think. They think that the Shia believe this. Now, before I answer to this misconception, before I tell you that this misconception is wrong, this idea is wrong, I want to explain to you what the idea of the basement is. Where did they come up with this idea? Where did they come up with the concept of sirdab, the basement? A basement, as you know, in the olden days and even nowadays, houses have basements, and they were used to be protected from the heat of the sun in the summer. That's what a basement is. The house of Imam Ali al-Hadi and Imam Hassan al-Askari was like this, was just like any ordinary house. It had a basement. So after Imam al-Askari was killed, the Abbasid regime, they were after Imam al-Mahdi ajallahu ta'ala farajah. They were after him. They had their eyes wide open. They wanted to capture him and kill him. Why? Because he possessed a threat onto their government. So there were many times that they would send assassins to the Imam to kill the Imam. In one of these scenarios, in one of these situations that assassins were sent to the Imam was found, they entered the house of the Imam was found sitting in the basement. He was sitting there and praying. And through a miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were not able to capture the Imam in that situation, nor in any other situation. So they take this story that we have in our narrations of how they saw the Imam in the basement. They take this story and they make a whole idea, a lie, a fib about the Shia, that their Imam, they believe their Imam is sitting there in the basement and has nothing to do with the Shia, just sitting there and waiting. This is what they say. Now, in order to understand, whenever we want to understand anything, we have to go back to our Imams. Our Imams give us narrations, they tell their companions stories, and they give them answers. We look at those answers, and now we have the answers to those questions. Yes, the Imam isn't with us for us to ask him, but we have the answers because the companions at the time of the Imams, they were also fascinated by this. They had many questions about the 12th Imam. So, what do our Imams say about Imam al-Mahdi? Is he trapped? Is he hiding? Where is he? Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, يفقد الناس إمامهم فيشهد الموسم فيراهم ولا يرونه. What does the Imam say? He says that the people, the Shia, us, will lose their Imam. Will lose their Imam. However, he says, he attends Hajj, the Hajj pilgrimage, every single year. And he sees people, but they don't see him. This is one narration. Now listen to me carefully. This narration alone is enough to debunk the idea, to show them that their idea of our Imam is wrong. Imam al-Sadiq is clearly saying that the Imam is not trapped. Imam is with us. He attends the Hajj pilgrimage. This narration says that the Imam sees us, but we don't see him. This specific narration. In another narration, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, إن صاحب هذا الأمر يحضر الموسم فيرى الناس ويعرفهم ويرونه ولا يعرفونه. Listen to this. This is a beautiful narration. It tells us so much about our Imam. It tells us how close our Imam can be to us. The narration says that the Imam is in occultation. He attends the Hajj every single year. He sees people and he knows them. He knows the Shia. He knows the ones that love him. He knows who every single individual in the world is. Every single individual's actions are presented to the Imam. Some narrations say daily, weekly. He knows every single individual. He knows that individual, but if we see him, this narration says, if we see the Imam, we might not know him. So these two narrations tell us one important thing, that the Imam can be amongst us at any time, can be with us at any time. One narration says we do not see him. Another narration says that if we see him, we won't know him. This is enough to debunk the idea that says that the Imam is not with these Shia, he's stranded in a basement. This is enough. At the time of the second representative of Imam al-Mahdi, his name was Muhammad ibn Uthman. He was present in the minor occultation. In the minor occultation, the Imam had 4 representatives. Every time one would die, the second one will come up and reveals himself as the representative of the Imam. At the time of the second representative, the Shia asked this representative, they asked him, what benefit do we get from the Imam? How do we benefit from the Imam when we don't see him? He's not with us. And this is a question that people until this day raise about the Imam. They tell you, what's the point of an Imam that you call an Imam that's hiding and you don't benefit from him? You're supposed to benefit from your Imam. So this second representative, he sent a letter to the Imam. He told him that this is what people are saying. The Imam replied to the letter. Listen to what the Imam said. He said, وَأَمَّا وَجْهُ الْإِنْتِفَاعِ بِي فِي غَيْبَتِي فَكَالْإِنْتِفَاعِ بِالشَّمْسِ إِذَا غَيَّبَهَا عَنِ الْأَبْصَارِ السَّحَابِ. Listen to this. Imam says that the Shia benefit from me, from the Imam. Just like the benefit of the sun when it is covered by the clouds. When the sun is covered by the clouds, we don't see the sun. Is it still important for us? Yeah? The sun, if it's covered by the clouds or not covered, it is still important for us. It's important for our living, for our everyday lives. The Imam says, even though I'm in ghaiba, even though you do not see me, you still benefit from me just like you benefit from the sun. Then the Imam says, وَإِنِّي لَأَمَانٌ لِأَهْلِ السَّمَاءِ كَمَا أَنَّ النُّجُومَ أَمَانٌ لِأَهْلِ الْأَرْضِ. That I am a protection for the people of earth, just like the stars are protection for the people of the skies. How does the Imam protect us? There are many stories, many examples of how the Imam protected his Shia in the minor and major occultation, in the Ghayb al-Sughra and the Ghayb al-Kubra. Many stories of how the Imam protected the Shia. One of the stories during the minor occultation, one of the stories is the story of the pomegranates. Now we're not going to go into this story. However, if you do read the story, if you search the story of the pomegranate and Imam al-Mahdi, you will hear the story and how fascinating it was. The Imam protected the pure existence of the Shia. Listen to this. The Imam protected the Shia by guiding his representative. He guided his representative to an answer that saved the Shia from being wiped out in that time. The story of the pomegranate. It's a famous story. Just like there's examples of the Imam benefiting the Shia in the minor occultation, there's also benefits and stories of the Imam benefiting the Shia during the major occultation, during our time now. It's not far from us. How does the Imam do this? The Imam doesn't communicate with us very oftenly. He only communicates with the righteous, with the closest of his companions. The Imam guides the Shia, guides us through the scholars. The Imam has representatives in the major occultation, just like he had representatives in the minor occultation. Who are they? They are the maraja', they are the scholars. The Imam guides us through them. Listen to this story. There was at the time of Sheikh al-Mufid. Sheikh al-Mufid was one of the renowned major scholars of the Shia. He was born after the minor occultation, and he lived through the beginning of the major occultation. A villager, a man came from a village on the outskirts of Baghdad. He came to the Imam. He told the Imam he's got a question. However, he didn't want to say it in public. He wanted to tell the Imam, he wanted to tell the Sheikh al-Mufid in private. He came to Baghdad to speak to Sheikh al-Mufid, Muhammad ibn al-Nu'man. So they spoke in private. The villager told him that there is a lady. This lady is pregnant and she has passed away. What do we do with her? Do we bury her with the baby? Or what do we do? Do we cut the stomach and take the baby out? What do we do to this woman now that she's died? The baby is maybe 5 months old in the stomach. Sheikh al-Mufid said, according to my ijtihad, the scholars, just a side note here, the scholars study for years and years until they come up with some jurisprudence for us to learn from, for our questions. They study narration after narration until they can come up with an answer for our questions, our aqaidi, our fiqh questions. So the Sheikh al-Mufid says, according to my ijtihad, you cannot touch the woman after she's dead. After she's dead, you cannot cut her stomach and take the child out. It's impermissible. And the villager said, thank you. He was on his way to the village. Why did the Shaykh al-Mufid say this? Because the narration says, حُرْمَةُ الْمُؤْمِنْ حَيٍّ أو حُرْمَةُ الْمُؤْمِنْ مَيِّتًا كَحُرْمَتِهِ حَيًّا. The dignity of a mu'min, if they're dead, the mu'mina or the mu'min, is just like their dignity if they're alive. There is no difference. Just like you can't cut up a body of an individual when they're alive, you can't cut them up when they're dead. That's what the Sheikh said. Villager went off to go to his village and tell the news to the family of this lady. As he's on his way, a horseman came to him. This horseman told him, I am the messenger of Sheikh al-Mufid. Okay, I was just with Sheikh al-Mufid. You're a messenger? Okay. What do you have to tell me? He said that Sheikh al-Mufid tells you, I made a mistake. You should cut the stomach of the lady, take the baby out, and then bury the lady. This lady that was pregnant. So the villager says, thank you. He goes to the village, does everything that messenger told him, and then he goes back. He writes a letter to Sheikh al-Mufid, to Sheikh Muhammad ibn al-Nu'man. He says, thank you for correcting your jurisprudence. Thank you for correcting your fatwa. Why? Because we cut the stomach of the lady, we took the child out, the child is living and he's healthy. The Shaykh al-Mufid thought to himself, I didn't change my fatwa. What's happened here? My fatwa, my idea is still the same. You cannot do anything to an individual after they're dead. My fatwa has not changed. Shaykh al-Mufid then thought to himself, he said, the only two people that were there was me and that man, the villager. So how could anyone have found out about this? Then he realized that this messenger, this horseman that came to the villager, could have been nobody but Imam al-Mahdi or a messenger from Imam al-Mahdi. Shaykh al-Mufid, he was upset with himself that he thought he made a big mistake. He thought he made a mistake in his fatwa. So he decided not to give any more fatwa after that. Listen to this. This proves that it was Imam al-Mahdi that gave that message to the villager. He says, not long after, a letter came from Imam al-Mahdi. The letter said, أفد يا مفيد منك الفتوى ومنا التسديد. That's it. And as I said, the name of the Sheikh was Muhammad ibn al-Nu'man. Imam al-Mahdi is the one that called him Mufid. He told him, give your fatwa. The fatwa is from you and the guidance is from us. Keep doing what you're doing. You look at these days, you look at how people are treating our maraja, how they attack them, how they speak so little of them. It is truly upsetting. Just because you have an issue with one scholar, it does not mean you should generalize and attack all the maraja, all the ulama. The Imam teaches us, the Imam guides us through these maraja. The Imam doesn't only protect the belief, he even protects us at a personal level. He protected a family. In this case, he saved a boy from being killed. The Imam protects us without us even realizing. That is the benefit of the Imam during the occultation. Now to point number 2. What this occultation that we're talking about, this ghaiba, is this ghaiba a introduction by the Shia? Was this an innovation that the Shia made up? Did the Shia insert this idea into people's mind? What does ghaiba mean? Is this something that happened in history or isn't new? There are many stories in the Quran and in our Islamic history that tells us about prophets and noble people that also experienced a form of occultation. The Imam is not the first person that's experienced occultation, not the first person that goes into ghaiba. And this might be surprising to some people. That when they tell you the Shia believe this, you tell them no. It's in Islamic history and in the Quran. How? There are at least, and I've got here, at least 9 stories of people, messengers of Allah or noble people that went into a state of ghaiba. Before we talk about these stories, we have to make it clear. We have to tell these people that bring up these misconceptions, we have to tell them what the foundations are. We have to tell them that the meaning of ghaiba means that the identity of the person is concealed. The identity of the Imam is concealed. We either don't see him, or if we see him, we do not recognize him. That is the foundation. You have to start with this. Then you go on to speaking about these examples. The first example is the example of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Prophet Musa alayhi salam had 2 occultations. One of them is when he fled from Egypt. He went to Madian. He fled from the authorities, from Fir'aun, and he went to Madian. When he went to Madian, the narration says from the Imam that he stayed in Madian for 28 years. Another narration says 50 years. 50 years away from his people, away from the people of Egypt. They did not know where he was. That's one. The people of Madian, they were with the Imam, with him on a daily basis, but they didn't know who he was. They didn't know who this identity is, who this prophet is, Prophet Musa alayhi salam. They were with him, but they didn't know who he was. That's one. His identity was concealed. Number 2 is when Prophet Musa alayhi salam went to the miqat. He went to the mountain. He left Bani Israel for how many days? 40 days. 40 days he left his people. He came back to these people. These people were trialed. They didn't know where he was. They didn't know how he is, if he's alive or not. He came back after 40 days and they were already disbelieving in Allah and they were worshipping idols. They were trialed for 40 days and they failed. Their savior, which is Nabi Musa, was away from them 40 days and that was enough for them to fail the test. The second prophet is Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. Prophet Yunus, he was in the stomach, the whale swallowed him. He left his people and the whale swallowed him for 40 days. He was away from his people. No one knew anything about him. His people didn't know where he was, what his situation. He was in a state of ghaibah. The third example, the third prophet is Prophet Salih alayhi salam. Prophet Salih was away from his people, they say, for such a long time that when he came back they didn't even recognize him. That's how long he was away from his people. Prophet Salih was in a state of ghaibah. Another prophet was Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Prophet Ibrahim came to his people. He told them, do not worship the idols. They said, leave us or we will stone you. Leave us or we will hurt you. Prophet Ibrahim told them, فَأَعْتَزِلُكُمْ وَمَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. I will leave you and leave whatever you worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he left them. Again, he left them for a long time and they did not know anything about him. Prophet Ibrahim was in a state of ghaibah. The other prophet is a prophet that's still alive till our day. Who is this prophet? Prophet Isa alayhi salam. Jesus, Prophet Isa is still alive to our day. All Muslims believe that he is still alive. And us Shia understand and believe that Prophet Isa alayhi salam will reappear with Imam al-Mahdi and he will pray behind the Imam. The people of his time, the Christians, believe that he was killed and he was crucified. The Quran says, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. That they did not kill him and they did not crucify him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifted him to the skies. So Prophet Isa is still alive. And he's been alive for longer than Imam al-Mahdi. So why is it that Prophet Isa can be alive until now, but they doubt our Imam? They say, how can the Imam be alive until this day? The next one is Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Prophet Yusuf has a very nice story, which you have probably read. When he was away, when he was sold by his brothers knew he was alive. His father knew he was alive, but he was away from them. They did not know where he was. He was away from his people. He was in a state of ghaibah from his people. And when he was in Egypt, the people of Egypt, they didn't know who he was for many years. He was with them, living with them. They didn't know he was a prophet. They didn't know he was a messenger of Allah. So his identity was concealed. Thank you. Khidr is another one. Khidr. Al-Khidr, some people say he was a prophet, some people say he wasn't. However, Al-Khidr has been alive since before Nabi Musa, a very long time before Nabi Musa, and still alive until our day. And he's with Imam al-Mahdi. There's a famous story of how he benefited people as well. There's a very beautiful story of him and Nabi Musa alayhi salam that they helped people without them even realizing. Khidr is still alive. Why is it that all of these prophets can be alive up till our day, but when it comes to our Imam, no. They say no way. How can someone live for this long? So when someone tells you that this is a Shia innovation, the first answers should be these examples here. At least 9 examples are these examples. There's much more as well. Now, the third point is, how do I know if I am an awaiter of the Imam? We've already answered 2 questions. We've answered what the meaning of occultation is, that the Imam is with us. The second thing, we've answered that the concept of ghaibah, occultation, is not something that the Shia made up because they were bored. It is mentioned in the Quran and Islamic history. Now, how do I know if I am an awaiter of the Imam? How do I know if I'm actually awaiting for the Imam? Yes, I say it. Yes, I'm waiting for the Imam. I'm waiting for the Imam. But how do I know if this is true? First of all, the prophets, they speak very highly. They speak of many rewards for those that await the Imam. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says in a narration, he says, من مات منكم منتظرا لهذا الأمر كمن هو مع القائم في فسطاطه. He says that whoever dies while waiting for their Imam, it is as if they are with the Imam in the war tent, in the tent of the Imam when he's at war. Before understanding if we are an awaiter, if we are awaiters of the Imam, we have to understand what the requirement is. There's a prerequisite, there's a condition here. The Imam then says, the narrator that narrates that hadith, he says the Imam then paused. He stopped for a second and then he added, he said, rather, لا بل كمن قارع معه بسيفه. The Imam says, I will add more to this. The one who dies while waiting for the Imam is as if they fight alongside the Imam against the enemies. Sitting down, waiting for the Imam correctly can give you that great reward. The third, then the narrator says that the Imam paused again, and then he said again, he said, لا والله إلا كمن استشهد مع رسول الله. Allahu Akbar. He says that rather the reward of this person is as if they died while fighting alongside Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. This is the great reward. And then in another narration, Imam adds to it. He says that whoever awaits the Imam and follows the Imam's footsteps, this person is better than some of the companions that died in the war of Uhud and Badr. Badr and Uhud. Some of the best and most noble companions died in these wars. And the Imam says that whoever awaits the Imam has the reward of those people and even better than those people. So how do we wait for the Imam? We must ask ourselves. People that truly care, ask themselves, how do we wait for our Imam? We will go through this after a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Point number 1, the first way we wait for our Imam is to educate ourselves and increase our knowledge about the Imam. There is about 6,000 narrations from the Ahlul Bayt. There is 130 verses in the Quran that speak and refer to Imam al-Mahdi. How many of these narrations and these verses do I know? How many of them? Why is it important for us to increase our knowledge about the Imam? There are many reasons for this. One reason is that so we can know the qualities of the Imam. What does the Imam look like? What is the Imam? How is he? What is his personality? That's number 1. Number 2, so we can understand the qualities of the companions of the Imam. We have to understand the qualities of the companions so that we can make sure these qualities are in us, that we have those qualities. Number 3, we understand the signs of the reappearance. There are signs for the reappearance. Alamat al-Dhuhur. We understand these signs from the narrations. We must look at them so we understand. If we see these signs, we understand, yes, the Imam is reappearing. If we don't understand these signs, how are we going to ever understand the Imam is reappearing or not? Number 4 is, so we can answer the misconceptions regarding the Imam. Number 5, we understand why the Imam went into ghaibah. We understand why is the Imam still in ghaibah. We understand why is the life of the Imam so long. We educate ourselves so we can do 2 things. First of all, we answer the misconceptions, the people that tell you, how is your Imam over 100 years old and still alive? We answer people that say, what is the benefit of the Imam during his occultation? We answer many misconceptions when we increase our knowledge regarding the Imam. That's number 1. Number 2, we increase our knowledge so that we can disseminate it. We can spread this knowledge regarding the Imam. Number 3, we learn more about our Imam so that we can tell others about the Imam. Not other Shia. Other Shia might know about the Imam already. If they don't know, then that's a problem. We have to tell them. We spread this knowledge, we spread the information about our Imam to other people that are not Shia. You know, believe it or not, there are many people out there that believe there is a lot of corruption in the world. They believe that the world is filled with injustice. You go to these people and you tell them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send a Messiah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send a messenger at the end of time. His name is Imam al-Mahdi. This person will remove all of injustice from the world. This person will remove all of corruption from the world. When we tell these people these things, these people that are with us at work, these people that are with us at school, anyone we see, whoever shares the same trouble that we share, the trouble that we have with the gender issues at the moment, the trouble we have with the alphabet communities at the moment, when we spread this knowledge to them, when we tell them about this, it will do 2 things. It will either allow them to wake up from their slumber, or it will allow them to keep this at the back of their mind. They will remember what you said. And then when they hear it again, it will awaken them more and more. When the Imam reappears, you've already done half the job because you've already told them about this Imam that will reappear at the end of time. This is why it's important to increase our knowledge. Now, the second reason, the second way we can fulfill our duties and become an awaiter of the Imam is to make sure our personalities are correct at a social level. What does this mean? How do we treat other people at a social level? How do we act with other people? Are we just with other people? Are we good or are we unjust? Do we perform injustice towards other people? Now, whether this is at a government or dictator level, or if it's at a social level, our social level in a community, how do we treat others? Are we just with other people or are we not? Or if it's at the level of our families, how do we treat our families? Our brothers, our sisters, our parents, or for the parents, how do you treat your children? Are we just with our children or our brothers and sisters, or how do we treat them? Why is this important? Because the main objective of the Imam when he reappears is to remove all injustice from the world. He will wipe out all of injustice. So if my attitude is unjust, If I am an unjust person, I will be an obstacle in the way of the Imam. How do I consider myself an awaiter of the Imam when I am an obstacle for the Imam to reappear? I'm not assisting the Imam in reappearing. That is at a social level. And then there's a personal level as well. And this is the important part. Listen to this. And there's a story here as well. How am I at a personal level? What kind of person am I? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَتَعَدَّ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ. That whoever exceeds the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they have become unjust. They have performed unjust actions toward themselves. They have oppressed themselves. How do we oppress ourselves? How? By performing sins. How do we expect to see our Imam with eyes that we sin with? There was a man, a scholar of ours. He was in the city of Shiraz in Iran. He said, I was walking in the city and I came across a mentally challenged man, a insane man, a crazy man. This man was running and the children were running after him. They were laughing at him. So he says, I said, Inna Allah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He said, I went to the mosque at a time that wasn't the time of prayer. Not the time of obligatory prayer. I just went to the mosque to pray there. So he said, I prayed and I sat down behind a wall, behind a pillar. And then I heard someone walk into the mosque. He said, I looked. It was the same person, that insane, crazy man. He said, I stood behind the pillar. He didn't see me. He went, grabbed a turba, went to start praying. He looked around. He couldn't see anyone. He began praying, Allahu Akbar. This scholar says that the actions, the khushu' of this person during prayer did not show any signs of craziness. They weren't the signs of a crazy person. In fact, they were the signs of a very intelligent person. So he said, I was very shocked. I waited for him until he finished. He finished. I went up to him. I told him, what's your story? As soon as he saw me, he began acting crazy again. I told him, I saw what you did. I saw the way you prayed. He insisted that he is crazy. He didn't want to tell me. So the scholar told him, بحق أسألك بحق الذي جننت من أجله. I ask you in the name of the person that you became crazy for. Why are you doing this? Listen to this. Listen to how upsetting this story is. This man says, I used to be a person that used to see the Imam. I used to be a person that used to speak to the Imam. But then I performed one sin. One sin. What did I do? He said, I looked at a lady with lust. I looked at a lady in the wrong way. He said, after I did that, I was not able to meet the Imam or see the Imam again. He told the scholar, how do you think the situation of such a person that used to meet the Imam and see the Imam, don't you think this person should become crazy after this? After not being able to see the Imam? We should make sure our actions speak the same way our words speak. Our eyes, the eyes that we plan to look at the Imam with, we should make sure they're not polluted with sins. What do we look at on a daily basis? The words that come out of our mouth, we should watch out for what we say, because this mouth will be used to give allegiance to the Imam, to speak to the Imam. So how am I going to speak to the Imam with a mouth that's filled with ghiba, namima, swearing, lying? How do I expect to speak to the Imam like that? How do I consider myself an awaiter if I commit all these sins? If I am not even ready to see or speak to the Imam? These hands that I will give allegiance to, what do I do with these hands? Our actions should speak the same way our words speak. There's a man that used to always call, Ya Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. He used to always call out to the Imam. One day, he heard a knock on the door. He was at home. He opened the door. He saw a man. The man told him, I am your Imam. I would like to come into your house. The man said, Subhanallah, I've been calling the Imam for this many years, and I'm finally meeting the Imam. The man thought to himself, but wait, I need to make sure my house is ready for the Imam to enter. What do I have around me in the house? What's playing on the TV? What kind of photos do I have in the house? What's the surroundings of my house? What do I have in there? So the man told the Imam, give me 1 minute, just quickly. I will go inside and come back. The man went inside the house. He turned off the TV. There was music playing from a movie or a cartoon. He turned off that music. And then he ran back to the door. He was excited to see the Imam. He went to the door. No one was there. The Imam was testing him. The Imam wanted to see if this person was ready for him. If the Imam reappears now, am I ready? The things I have on my phone, are they of what the Imam is pleased of? Am I ready for my Imam's reappearance? Am I a person that accounts themselves, that's put themselves accountable for all the actions? Do I think about all the actions I have done that day, that night? What have I done? Am I pleasing the Imam? What is my situation? What is my Imam's situation? On the first day of Ashura, the first day of Muharram, what is my Imam's situation? What kind of days and nights is my Imam living? A man by the name of Rayyan ibn Shabib, he walks into the house of Imam Redha alayhi salam on the first day of Muharram. Imam Redha. Imam Redha is known to be the renewer of the tragedies of Karbala. He renewed the calamities of Karbala. The Imam told him, O son of Shabib, this month is a month that the Jahiliyyah, the people of the ignorant people of the past, would have sanctity. They respected this month to an extent that they did not fight, they did not go to war. They respected this month. Then the Imam says, but this nation did not recognize the sanctity of this month. This nation did not recognize the sanctity of their prophets. This nation did not recognize the sanctity of his household. Imam Redha alayhi salam says, O son of Shabib, in kunta bakiyan li shay fabki al-Husayn, فإنه ذبح كما يذبح الكبش. O son of Shabib, if you were to cry over anything, then cry over Hussein, for he was killed like the ram is killed. He was slaughtered. The seven heavens and the earth cried over him. 4,000 of the angels went to assist their Imam, but they found the Imam was murdered. They couldn't assist him. Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, when he reappears, he will go to the Kaaba, he will stand at the Kaaba, he will call to the people of the world, Ya Ahl al-Alam, Inna Jaddi al-Hussein qataluhu atshana. O people of the world, my grandfather Hussein was killed while he was thirsty. My grandfather Hussein was not given a drop of water from the enemies. Ya Ahl al-Alam, Inna Jaddi al-Hussein tarahu aryana. O people of the world, my grandfather Hussein was killed. He was left on the plains of Karbala with nothing to cover him. Ala ya Ahl al-Alam, Inna Jaddi al-Hussein sahaqu adwana. That the enemies killed him and they trampled his body with the horses. A scholar said he saw Imam al-Mahdi on the day of Ghadir. He saw the Imam was very sad. He told the Imam, why are you sad on such great day, on such a happy day? He said the Imam replied to me with two poems, with two lines of poetry. He said, لا تراني اتخذت لا وعلاها بعد بيت الأحزان بيت السرور. That don't you think that we are happy, we are ever happy after what happened to our mother Fatima alayha salam. Fatima Zahra alayha salam, if it wasn't for the breaking ribs of Fatima, then the ribs of Imam Hussein would not have broken. If it wasn't for the burning tents, if it wasn't for the burning of the house of Fatima, then the tents would not have been burnt in Karbala. If it wasn't for the attack of Imam Ali's house, then the enemies would have not attacked his sons on the day of Ashura. Fatima Zahra alayha salam, she hid all of her pain. She only cared about her husband Amir al-Mu'mineen. She wanted to make sure he was okay. She did not tell him about her broken ribs. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was washing the body of Fatima. He was covering her with the shroud. He says, the narration says that the Imam took a step back. He went to the wall, he sat down, he placed his head in between his legs. He began crying. Asma told him, Ya Ali, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, why do you cry? Amir al-Mu'minin said, Ya Asma, as I was washing the body of Fatima, I realized one of her ribs was broken. I realized that she was whipped with the whip. She did not tell me about her broken ribs. She hid all of this from me. The poet said, ضلع واحد يا علي وهد حيلك. ضلع واحد يا علي وهد حيلك. شاذ لو حسين شو تسوي لك. That's Imam Ali. Oh, Imam Ali, you saw one of Fatima's ribs broken, and this happened to you. What would happen if you saw and heard the ribs of Hussein being broken? The narrators say that the horses did not walk over the body of Hussein. They went over the body and they began trampling the body of our Imam until the ribs were shattered into pieces. all of the bones inside our Imam were broken.